What's up, everybody? Welcome to part 2 of the Thanos head sculpt. I'm super excited to get this out for you guys. Thanks for all the love on the last video. Again, for any reminders before we start, please, if you can, like, subscribe, and comment with any other questions on the video or videos that you want to see. Other than that, let's get straight into it. I hope you guys enjoy. Alrighty, so we are on our way. We are polishing the details now that we started from the first video. I kind of laid them out, and now I'm going in and refining them even more to get either creases to be sharper, cuts where wrinkles need to be, things like that. Again, everything was already based off of our first video, and now we're going back in and taking the move brush and refining all of the shapes and details on the face. Again, like I said in the first video, form and shape is the most important aspect of your sculpts, and if you can't nail that, then that's not going to look right. So even as we progress further, even detailing, I'm still using the move brush and moving things around. Right now I'm just using the standard brush with the modifier on it, as we did in the last video, and that one I'm just going further and cutting in details more and more, making his chin details more refined, his lip details more refined, all that stuff. And you notice I'll keep on going back to those. I try to, because if you look in the image, they're not straight lines, they're kind of squiggled, so I kind of try to do that later on, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now I'm pulling out a neck. These are pinball rod modifiers, so I don't really need a huge neck on him, but I felt like it might look better with him having somewhat of a neck coming out of his head. I know that was just my design process and my idea for the modifier, because there's going to be a big old hole in the back of his head that connects it to the shooter rod for the pinball machine. Now we're going in again with the standard brush. We're cutting in the teeth, laying out the shapes and bases of them. And again, for the teeth right here, outside of the move brush, I'm just using the standard brush with the modifier on it, and I'll be using the clay brush to build up the shapes of the teeth. Again, going back in, moving. When you guys are working on details or just trying to figure out certain areas of a face or a sculpture, don't feel afraid to go back and edit something later. Like, don't think your first pass has to be perfect. It's gonna happen in iterations. You're gonna take a break from a sculpt, go to sleep, or go have lunch or whatever, and you're gonna come back and you see something is off. At that point, go ahead and fix whatever you need to fix. It's it's not set in stone until like you finalize and render it at the end. You always have opportunities to change it. But also, don't let perfection, stop you from completing things. Every art piece we can always make better, but in this case, we just got to get it done for clients. Right here, I'm masking off his head. Excuse me. We are building out the rest of his cowl, the blue part of his helmet, and we're going to extract it using the extraction modifier. This is what I love about Nomad Sculpt, is that the more and more they add into it, my workflow from ZBrush and my workflow from Blender is all in these apps. I don't really use too many advanced tools, and for my aspect, I prefer that just because, like I stated in a few of my other videos, we're always learning as artists and we're always getting better. And for me, sculpting everything by hand really allows you to learn how to recreate that shape and build up that muscle memory and that visual library inside of your sculpts. Yeah, there's shortcuts and there's tools and everything, but what if those shortcuts are there? What if you're limited by a weaker computer that can't run some type of computation that you need to use as a tool? Yeah, you shouldn't be using a computer that's old, but if that's the case, being able to sculpt with the foundations that you have and the knowledge that you have from doing things by hand will help you in the long run. and also make you faster later on down the line. Like I said in the last video, I used to take a long time to sculpt a head, and now, you know, when I'm in flow mode, I can totally do it really quickly, and that's, again, years of practice. So again, we're just tightening things up, fixing the lip, trying to match it to the reference in the back. And right here, I'm just using the move brush, using smooth to clean some things up, and just tighten those shapes up even more. At this point, guys, it's really just like 3 or 4 brushes. I mean, pretty much the whole project has been 3 or 4 brushes, but really, there's nothing that's changed or different tools that I'm using that you guys haven't seen in the first video. Trying to make the indentations on his ear cups or ear pads or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what you would call them. Just using inflate to get it to push out a little bit. Oh, and happy Halloween to all you guys watching this today. When I'm recording this, it's Halloween. So if you're watching it today, tomorrow, or any day after that, happy Halloween. My daughters are excited. They're dressed up as My Little Pony. One's Rainbow Dash and the other is Twilight Sparkle. So for any of you My Little Pony fans out there, okay, so you can see after I got the extraction tool working, I had to play through a few iterations of the thickness of his cowl until where I liked it. I wasn't trying to get it too thick because I didn't want it to look like it was like this giant inflatable piece that he has on his head. I wanted to fit it more to the skin, but if I made it too thin, any adjustments I made might have pushed the mesh through. Now we are masking off for his little brow ridge on his helmet, little sharp bits. Again, since this one is going to be another pinball machine mod, and people's hands are going to be gripping this, we had to make the decision to, instead of having them stick out like it is in the image, we had to make them, or we were going to make them flush to the helmet as possible. We don't want anybody stabbing their hands when they're grabbing Thanos' head on the shooter rod. But yeah, another way of using extraction is just creating more pieces, more shapes. You know, instead of having to build it from scratch, say from a cube or something, it's just much easier because you already have the form of the head solidified for you. At this point, I'm just taking the pinch brush to make the edges sharper, move, of course, and then remeshing a lot. Just trying to make sure that I can get the mesh as clean as possible as I start editing it. Sometimes I feel like there's so much more I should say in these tutorials and stuff, but really, like, it's what I taught you in the last video still applies to this video, and it's just taking the time to polish, to pay attention to shape and form. I sound like a broken record, I know, but it really is that important in your guys' work. But I really don't do anything fancy when it comes to sculpting. You know, it's years of anatomy, years of studying anatomy, lighting, and I wouldn't say I was the best in school at it. It's just after, you know, doing it professionally for so long that you start to build up that visual library. You start to see things easier as you look at an image. So practice, practice, practice. Yeah, the last bit here is just a bunch of masking and extracting and shaping, and that's pretty much it. I try to color it later on. You're going to see in a little bit that after I get this last metal bit part, I started applying some color and materials. Unfortunately, when I exported it to Blender to render, the material or the colors didn't carry over for some reason. It's weird because I've exported something from Nomad before, and it's come into Blender as an OBJ with color on it. So I don't know if there's a bug going on, or I must have clicked something different when I did that last time. Yeah, so just shaping a little bit more, moving things against the head, making sure that they're flush. And I think I'll probably do another series specifically on like 3D printing, why I'm doing things a certain way for 3D printing. But the most important thing for a 3D print is you have to make sure that it is completely sealed shut, that there's no holes going into the mesh. Everything is merged together and remeshed all as one, because then the way 3D printing software reads a mesh, you can't have them as planes. They have to be like solid objects. There's ways to hollow it out so that you can save material, but I usually print a lot of my stuff solid just because I like to have heft and weight on my prints. So yeah, if you guys want a 3D printing course, I'd be happy to do that. Just let me know how wanted that one is. So like I said, I'm trying to make these a little bit shaky so that they're not perfect lines across his face, just like in the image behind him. Getting a quick wrinkle in there for a snarl. At this point, just a bunch of small final touches. Getting close to the end there. I mean, that's pretty much it for him, guys. Like, there's not much to it. So if you guys like this video, again, please like, subscribe, and or comment with anything that you might want me to add in the next video or talk about in the next video. Maybe I'll do another series specifically talking about 3D printing and how I go about thinking for 3D print. I know I want to do a series on 3D printing. I know I want to do a series on how to get started for game work with Nomad. And then that one will probably be both Nomad and Blender, and maybe some other things. But yeah, I have a few series that I want to do for you guys, but I hope this one kind of got you guys started in Nomad Sculpt. Again, any questions you guys have, please leave them in the comments below. Other than that, I will talk to you later. Have a wonderful day, wonderful night, whenever, wherever you're at, and I will see you later. Peace.